Good morning, everyone. Um, just going to give it a few minutes and let everyone join, and then we'll get started with this week's guided free writing session. We're going to be doing a lot of self-reflection this morning, so hopefully you guys are ready for that. Let me know if you're watching in the comments. I can see 5 of you already and I can only see 1 comment. Good morning, Shivani. Good morning, Pratima. What are you ladies sipping on this morning? I've got fennel in hot water. It's supposed to be really soothing. Hopefully that's just the right volume so it doesn't annoy you all. I can't stop listening to this song. Right, okay, so I can see lots of you on the live. So let's get started. My name's BananaSharma, for those of you that don't know. No, my name's Vidhu Sharma, but I go by the stage name BananaSharma. I'm a spoken word poet, and I'm part of the Tattva team looking after social media, and really excitingly, the authorship program started beginning of last month. And we as a team, a projects team, are going to be accepting pitches from the current authors that are going through the programme at the moment. So that's something really exciting to look forward to for you as well as people that are engaging with Tattva and reading our books and tuning into our live sessions and projects. So we've got lots of exciting things on the horizon. But before all of that, I wanted to just say a massive congratulations to the team and to lots of you that tune in every week, because I wish I had a visual aid for this. It hasn't arrived yet, but Creativity in Crisis, the publication, has now launched. It is now live. It is available to buy on Amazon. If you just go to tattva.org.uk/creativity-in-crisis, you'll get all the information about the project. But what's so bizarre about it is that, well, not bizarre, but it's just surreal, is that 6 weeks ago I was sat here delivering a free guided writing session just like this. And that's when the idea was born. And 6 weeks later, we're here, and the publication is live, and we've published 26 authors, not even people that we could consider themselves authors, but just people that are going through this crisis with the rest of us, key workers, educators, elderly members of the community, youth, parents. We had so many different types of people in this publication. And it all started with a session just like this. 100% of profits raised from the book will be going to the National Emergencies Trust, the NET Coronavirus Appeal. So please donate generously. Please buy one for your family members, for your local hospital, for your local school. Let's really try and get these stories out far and wide, because if there's anything that we've learned from the last 6 weeks, it is the micro stories that make up the macro. So please give those stories some airtime. Okay, anyway, enough of that. Just a big congratulations to those of you that have that were published in that. And if you weren't and you're feeling a bit of FOMO right now, then stay tuned over the next couple of weeks on there'll be sure to be something else that will be announced that you can submit for. We're really on a roll as a team, so well done, team. Okay, cool. We're 5 minutes into the live, and I've not even set a single task, just been rabbiting away. Okay, so first thing we're going to do this morning. Hope you've got a pen and pad out. I always find that this activity is better with a pen and pad than with your laptop or tablet, or whatever, but not judging. Whatever's easiest for you. I'm really glad that actually Shruti is on the live, because this is an activity that she swears by, and when we were catching up a few weeks ago, she was like, "You need to start doing this." And actually, I have been not consistently, but I have been doing it, and actually, I found that it removes so much of the gunk from my brain very early in the morning and makes way for greater ideas, greater creativity. So I'm really excited to share it with you. And really weirdly, I was watching a J. Cole video yesterday, as I do, and he mentioned that he does this as well. So I was like, wow, one of those moments when everything just seems to fit. Not that that was so profound, but this activity is called Morning Pages. Now, it works particularly well for us now because some of you will have just woken up. And this activity is basically first thing you do when you wake up. You don't even get out of bed. You reach for your pen and paper and you write three. You write 3 pages. Without stopping. You're not checking for grammatical errors, you're not checking to see if you've used the right word, you're not even taking the pen off the page. You are literally just writing whatever words or drawings or whatever comes out of your brain. But instead of setting you guys the task of 3 pages, I'm going to change it slightly so that it's a bit more manageable on this end. We're going to change it to 3 minutes. Okay, morning pages in 3 minutes. So I don't really know if you guys have any questions. I'm going to get it like 10 seconds later than you've written it, but I'll try and answer it. But I want to stay silent for the next 3 minutes while you do this, okay? Because it's really important that you're just there with your own thoughts and you're just getting it all out. So we're going to start with a 3-minute morning page activity. So pens to pads. For the next 3 minutes, I just want you to write whatever comes into your brain. We're about 30 seconds left. How did that feel? Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. Anything that you've written or just any thoughts on how that was for you. Just like to credit Julia Cameron for that morning pages activity. Strictly very frantically just sent me a message saying make sure you credit her. It's so important in the arts world to just keep things, passing the baton on, but also remembering where these ideas came from. Tell me how that felt. Morning pages is a funny one. It can actually be, when I do it, it doesn't always fill me with the greatest feeling of feeling refreshed. I actually sometimes feel quite disheartened and a little bit disappointed in what I've managed to get out. But then I always reconcile myself with, but this activity is all about getting the gunk out. It's all about making way for fresh ideas to flow. So it's not going to be a masterpiece. And actually, when you start to do it every day, you start to see certain patterns in your writing. And it's something, as I said, a lot of successful artists around me kind of swear by. So even if you're not an artist, but you're just someone that likes to reflect, like all of us, right? I do really recommend this as an activity. And if you are going to do it, then drop me a line. Let's hold each other to account. Let's tell each other that we've done it for the day. Okay, so now that we've done our morning pages and no one feels to share anything that they've written, I want to just do a very quick activity where I'm going to ask you to, in the comment section, write a sentence describing the room you're sitting in. Just one sentence to describe whatever you choose to pick out as a detail. Just give me a description of the room. I'm going to give you a minute or so to just comment. See, I believe creative writing is all about noticing the mundane and the ordinary. While it is easy to pick at the things that you see, like the Bob Marley frame or the whiteboard, or the electric red racing chair, what's actually most interesting or can paint a really vivid image or picture of what you're describing is the things you wouldn't think to mention, the things you probably don't realize you notice, like how the light is showing vertically, whatever the word for that is, or how the edges of the room kind of merge into one another, making it look like they're not really even corners, how the white kind of just stays the same on the walls. About how dry your skin feels while you're sat in the room. Tells you a lot about the room's temperature or the humidity, or the fact that you guys can see almost little lines on my face because the blinds are that way. So I want you, although I've asked you to comment a sentence about the room you're sat in, I'd like you to take the description a little bit further. A little anecdote that I like to use when, not that I've done this, but I mean, something that I like, the way that this it helps me to visualize what I'm saying right now when I think about being in a park, walking through a park. And it's very easy to notice the trees and the grass and the benches and the color of the sky. But actually, it's not until you notice the flies that you really notice them. And when you do notice them, you see hundreds of them. They're just everywhere. They're in that place between I don't know what the word is, but you know how your sides is your peripheral vision? I wonder if it's the same for forwards. But you don't notice any of the flies until you then see that one like right next to your eye, and then as soon as you notice that one, you'll see hundreds of them just whirring around. So I want you to tell me about the flies in your room. Tell me about those boring, ordinary, mundane things that you don't necessarily believe deserves any airtime in your description of the room. Try and notice just at least one thing that you probably wouldn't think to notice when describing the room, and comment that in the section. Comment that in the comment section. The walls are light, the furniture is dark. When I look out the window, I see a park. Sunit, lovely, and congratulations. You were featured in Creativity in Crisis. I hope you've ordered your copy. Special announcement at the end about Creativity in Crisis, everyone, so stick around for that. The late spring sun peeks in around the closed, rigid, horizontal slats, reminding me that the power of light within me cannot be shut out. Jeez. Nice, Priyanka. You should have submitted to Creativity in Crisis. Amita wrote, a wooden old table, a green money plant. Nice. Whitewashed walls around me and just a glimmer of light peeping in from under the blind. Last night's teacup sitting lonely on the left-hand side of the bed. Most of the tea left and not drunk. Rancid milk. My son's books tipping out of the makeshift bookcase that sits in my room. When will we ever find the space to accommodate this mountain of books that continue to grow? That mark on the ceiling that continues to annoy me. Every day it grows larger and is so out of place in this room. Yes, I love that. I love that. Filled with the aroma of friendships as my eyes rest on the card sitting on the windowsill. Nice. Even though the room might be empty right now and there's no friends in it, just by saying that it's filled with the aroma of friendships it says so much, doesn't it? Just counted 13 plants in one room. Wow. Your brain must be very oxygenated right now. Ahead. A makeshift home office with remnants of her working day. A half-drunk mug of green tea. There's a trend here between these half-drunk cups of tea. Hastily scribbled notes from a call with her boss, and a perpetually tangled headset messily hanging off the screen. I feel a lot of us can relate to that right now. The TV cables. I mean, Neha, that says enough. The TV cables. I just already have an image of what this living room looks like. I mean, I'm saying it's a living room, and if it's not, then fair enough. But I mean, three words: the TV cables, and there's an image in my head of what that could look like. Isn't that amazing? Oh, then we've got another. Are hidden away like snakes in the grass, slithering around. Okay, not what I imagined of the TV cables, but just. Do you know what you see what it evokes in your reader, and it would evoke different things in different people. So it reminds you when you're writing creatively or any kind of writing really that as soon as it's out in the public domain, it's no longer yours. It's everyone's to interpret. Right. So I hope that was an interesting little activity and something that is so low maintenance that you can repeat anywhere around the house or anywhere for that matter. really quick one just to get things going. So firstly, I would suggest note down everything that is obvious, everything that you would think to mention, because don't forget those either. Those are really important things to mention in your descriptive writing. Think about what you can see, and then push yourself to look for the things that are ordinary or boring or mundane, like the whirring of the computer, or yeah, as I mentioned, the dryness of your skin, or wow, my hands just felt really cold on my hot face. Something ordinary, something mundane, something I wouldn't have thought to notice or say. Right, we're going to move on to the next activity. This is quite a fast-flowing, guided write. We're going to revisit an activity that Vivek used in his workshop. It was around the condition of synesthesia. And it's a condition in which, let me just get this right and read it. It's a condition in which one's senses, for example, hearing, are simultaneously perceived as if by more senses, such as sight. So some people can hear or see a colour and hear a sound, or they can see an object and they can taste something in their mouth. And it happens with shapes, letters, numbers, people's names. I was watching 8 out of 10 Cats last night, and one of the panelists was saying how when it wasn't 8 out of 10 Cats, it was Would I Lie to You? And one of the panelists, one of her lies was that when she meets people, she immediately what's the word I'm looking for, associates them with an animal, and that's how she remembers them. So she'll look at someone and she'll be like, you're a meerkat, and in her mind, when she thinks about that person, she'll think about a meerkat. It turned out she was lying, and that wasn't the case, and she doesn't do that, but I mean, that's a very great way of visualizing what synesthesia actually feels like. I have a bit of a weird brain like that as well. I do things like that, like with maths things in my head. I wonder if you guys do too. So we're gonna still focusing on the room that we're sat in. I want you to apply this idea of synesthesia to how your description of the room. So leaving what you've written so far, because some of you have written some really interesting paragraphs, I'm not going to ask you to try and fit these bits in. I want you to just continue. Some books have like 6-7 pages worth of just describing one setting. So don't feel like, oh, you've said it all in this first paragraph, I can't possibly write a second paragraph on this room. I'm sure there's so much more to pick at. So I would like you, using your senses, to write down how the room that you're sat in makes you feel in terms of taste, smell. If you had to associate the room with a sound, with a colour, write one paragraph description on one sense. Pick a sense. Maybe just close your eyes and sit with yourself in the room for a second and just think, or just look around and just think, what can I taste in my mouth, or what sound would I associate this room with, or what colour does this room remind me of? And there's a lot in this, and we're not going to start to unpack it in one guided writing session, but not just in the description, but there's also a lot in like the energy and the vibe of the room in terms of what colours you can see. So I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes to write from the lens of one sense in your body. Again, we're not looking for the obvious. Try and tell me from a sense that you wouldn't usually associate the room with. Feel free to leave any of your bits of writing in the comments section, or you can email it after to hello@tattva.org.uk. One of our editors will be sure to get back to you with next steps. The scratches on the table that I once would have wanted to scrape away, this world falsely made on perfection. Surely now we must lean into the scars of life. Those scratches evoke the real stories of humility. Wow, we're getting deep today. Comparing the scratches on a table to the scars that we as humans have. Wow. Everything in its orderly place, lots of memories from the past. I imagine books and shelves and frames and pictures. So I'm going to read a description of a room, picking out some boring parts of the room to describe. The little odd officer switched on the lights of the long salon. It was a handsome room in the Italian mode of the Empire period, beautiful old faded tapestry panels, reddish, and some furniture and other things mixed in. It was rather convoluted but pleasing, all the more pleasing. It was big, not too empty, and seemed to belong to human life, not to show and shut upness. The host was happy showing it. Even that last line, the host was happy showing it. 6 words. But it sets the energy of the room, doesn't it? It definitely shows you that it's not, no one sat in this room mourning, or you know what I mean, or in grief. It's almost happy. The room is like a perfect magazine cover. I'm afraid to sit in case I wrinkle the fabric or stain it with something I don't even know is on my pants. The couch is cream, but inlaid with a fine green silk. Leaves embroidered so delicately that they might have landed there in spring and just sunk in. But I know they took hundreds of hours to sew. The white curtains are linen, the kind of white that is untouched by hands or devoid of dust. A cursory look to the right shows me the almost hidden cords that are used to open and close them. There is no television, no bookshelf, no dining table, only the chairs arranged around a bespoke fireplace which leaps with a gas flame. The photographs are black and white, not casual family snaps, but arranged to look like such a professional. Any one of them would look out of place in a spread of hello. The floor is high polished wood, dark and free of either dust or clutter. There's a lot in there. But one of my favourite bits in there is the couch is cream but inlaid with a fine green silk, leaves embroidered, I don't know how to say it, so delicately that they might have landed there in spring and just sunk in, but I know they took hundreds of hours to sew. I love obviously the spring leaves metaphor, but I also just like how, but I know they took hundreds of hours to sew. It tells me so much about the character and their kind of considerations and what is important to them and their values. Just in that one line. Right, let's read a few of yours now. A symphony of pickiness and white and dotted browns of the oriental lollies dominating the lounge as it sprawls out of the crystal cut vase. Wow. Who would have thought that you could write such a long sentence on a vase, on flowers? Oh, a symphony of okay, yeah, the lilies. The yoga mat permanently placed during this lockdown to motivate some exercise. Yes, very relatable. That fresh spring-like smell. The bed sheets always have tinge left behind, but today it's that rancid milk that threatens to engulf the linen. That bloody milk keeps coming back. The smell of comfort can't be erased. If we rage that way, we take away the semblance of safe, that linen smell that always evokes so much, transporting me back to the home that I grew up in, the smell that transports me back to my mother's arms. Wow. The room is a mixture of different shades of brown flowing into one another, much like the top layer of a Starbucks coffee cup, ribbons of brown smoothly interlaced. Nice. Everyone missing Starbucks? Has anyone managed to get a Starbucks now that they've opened a few branches? My skin is awakened by the cool draft that flows lazily through the open window. Wow. I'm enveloped simultaneously by its calming white embrace and the warm comfort of my bed. This is my sanctuary, my safe place. Nice. Nice to know that some of you are still in bed. Right, that was great. I think that was great. I didn't even write anything, but just reading yours, I feel like that was good. That was a nice activity. Right, we're going to end this session then with a final bit of self-reflection. Now, I don't know if this will be as profound to you, but when I first heard this activity, I was like, wow, how is like this not just normal? That's a normal thing to do. Anyway, I'm going to stop picking it up. It's very common to write letters to our past selves, right? It's very common to write, a letter to your 3-year-old self and with 7-year-old self, and you're healing them from something that they may have experienced. I mean, I feel like that's something that a lot of people do. But have you ever heard of writing to your future self? For me, that was like, whoa, that's big. Because I suppose you go through life thinking that you're just collecting things and all these bits of these experiences that you're going through, you will be able to access in your minds in 10 years' time. But I don't think that's the case. I think we forget a lot. And I think we don't necessarily have some of the same wisdoms as we grow older. We gain other experiences, and there are things that we choose to keep in our kind of thought process, in our ideas of how we look at the world. But I think there are certain things that we drop. We don't even realise we drop along the way. And so I think that's an explanation for why we go through the same thing sometimes a lot. We keep going through the same thing because we're not necessarily learning the lesson. Anyway, getting a bit too unnecessarily deep there. But I'd like us, for the last few minutes, to write a letter to our future selves. Don't focus so much on when in the future you would read this, whether that's in 3 days or 5 years. I want you to focus a lot on how you talk about yourself to your future self. And I'm not going to give you too much prescription for this activity, because I feel like as soon as you get into the flow of writing it, you'll know where you want to take it. But I'm going to give you a few minutes to write a letter to your future self. You could even use all of the bits that we covered today about describing the room that you're in. It could be that it doesn't have to be anything profound, like, sharing who you are as a person with your future self. But maybe it's just who you are today, where you're sat today, and what you're thinking today. Right, I'm going to be quiet now for a couple of minutes and let you get on with that. Right, I'm only going to give you 30 seconds left during this session, but feel free to continue writing this letter to your future self after we've finished the live. I'm not going to ask anyone to share what they've written in the comment section. I know that this part can be quite personal. But I just want to take the last few minutes to tell you about an exciting virtual event that we are hosting next week on Sunday the 31st of May at 2 p.m. We will be having the virtual book launch for Creativity in Crisis. Well, we'll be inviting the 26 authors that contributed to the book to come onto a platform like this and talk a little bit about what they've written about, what their kind of perspective or their story about lockdown is, and their writing process. We're going to have a few short readings from some of them. It's going to be a really wholesome, lovely event next Sunday at 2 p.m. Where we'll hear about a little bit about the National Emergencies Trust as well. We'll hear from a jazz called Sharma who wrote the foreword. It would just be a really lovely get together of like-minded people talking progressively and productively about what we're going through as a society. So hopefully, hope you'll join us. It will be on Facebook, 2 p.m. next Sunday. Please come along. Please spread the word far and wide. We'll be getting some promotions out for it later today. We'd love to have you there with us. Please order the book before so you can follow along. And it will just be a really lovely, wholesome live reading session. So come along and see what this project is all about, what we're raising funds for, and hear some really unique, hard-hitting perspectives from medics on the front line to parents that are having to be around their children 24 hours around the clock during lockdown, to educators, to some of the elder members of our community, spreading some wisdom on how we can navigate through this time. And then we've also got some funny pieces, some light-hearted pieces, and some pieces of gratitude, and just some really lovely creative bits of writing. So please come along. It's going to be a really dynamic afternoon of all different kinds of literature and people and conversations. So we'd love to have you all there with us to help us launch this project that we turned around in record time. So come along and please support. But thank you very much for joining us this morning. And we'll be back again next Saturday with another critical writing session, and then on Sunday again in the morning with another creative writing session before the book launch at 2 p.m. Thank you very much and take care. I hope you have a lovely day in the sun today.